other advice would be to get it all done behind the scenes and then launch it all together or as close together as possible so that there's no mismatched branding at any point.
Yeah.
So for example, like make your new website and your profile picture live at the same time. And get excited about the rebrand and get your audience excited about it. You know, like you can tease it on your socials and get everyone excited to see the new look.
G'day, I'm Lockie and welcome to D2C Slingshot, a podcast where we interview brand founders and industry experts to help you out on your own journey, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. All right, cool. So I'm joined here with Bianca today, and you just want to quickly introduce yourself and BSPOKE Studio?
Yeah, so my name is Bianca. I own BSPOKE Studio, which is like a full service digital marketing agency. Yeah.
That's about it.
That's really it.
Okay, cool. So what do you specialize in at BSPOKE Studio? Obviously, there's a whole range of digital marketing niches that you can go down. What do you specialize in?
Yeah. So the whole concept of BSPOKE is to act as a one-stop shop. So I want small businesses to be able to come to me for all kinds of different things, rather than having like one person for each different service. But I would say my best-selling services are email marketing, brand design, and website design.
Yeah, so a lot on the design side of things, branding and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. And how did you get started with that?
Oh, it's a bit of a long story.
That's all right.
Okay?
We have heaps of time.
Okay, good, because I talk a lot, as you know. Okay. So I kind of dipped my toe into digital marketing when I started my first business, which was a product-based e-com store. And from there, I kind of just like fell in love with business, e-commerce, marketing. So I decided to go to uni to pursue a business degree. So I'm currently in my third year of that, almost finished, almost there. And yeah, throughout the last few years, I was living in Melbourne when we went into lockdowns. I was working in retail, which means that every time we locked down, I was stood down from work. And eventually I just got sick of it because it was like, I think almost a year of lockdown total, broken up. And in one of the last ones, I reached out to a local business and asked if they wanted help with their social media. So I was doing that for a few months, and I think that's when I realized like, oh, I can actually like do this and make a business out of it.
Yeah.
So I went back to my retail job for a while and I just hated it. Like I was wishing the hours away, and I just thought that's no way to live your life. So I gave 2 weeks notice and I started BSPOKE from there.
Oh, you're much kinder than me. When I quit my job, I just said there was like a couple of days you could take off over Easter, but you'd get 10 days over like a weekend over Easter, right? So I was just like, I'm not coming back. I was just like, like that. I was just like, nah, I'm done.
Catches.
Yeah, so wishing away those hours, definitely makes sense to me, especially when you get a taste for that online business, even just working from home. A lot of people aren't even going back to the office now or trying to avoid it heavily, or maybe they're doing a bit of a hybrid between work from home, work from the office. But yeah, working from home, not having to go out and talk to people that you don't like or they're unhappy at work as well. It's a lot better than, working in, say, retail or the office or something like that.
For sure.
So you just mentioned that you started a business to start with, and that's sort of how you got into digital marketing. And I remember Katie, my girlfriend, actually brought some booty bands from you. So you just want to dive into a bit more about that business, how you got started and what you learnt from that when you were first beginning.
Yeah, for sure. So I've always known that I wanted to have my own business or like build something, you know, like, yeah, I want to kind of like make a mark on the world, I guess. And I also love the idea of with your own business, there's no cap on like how much you can build it or what you can do with it. So yeah, I think at the time, okay, a side note, I've had a lot of different jobs. Like way too many different jobs. And I think it's mainly because I don't really like working for other people. So anyway, at the time, I was working in the call center for Australia Post, which is like just as awful as it sounds.
Yeah.
And so each fortnight, I would save a bit of my pay to start a business. I didn't even know what business at the time, but I would be researching like every night after work. And I decided on doing, booty bands, like fitness resistance bands,
Yeah.
because they weren't huge at the time. Like there are a couple of businesses doing it. This was 2019. And so, I started developing that. What was the question, sorry?
Just a bit about what you learnt over that
Oh,
journey. Yeah. And is it still running?
no. So, okay, I learned a lot during the journey, like everything from product development to marketing to, everything, influencer management, because I was doing it all myself and I developed the product myself. I worked with manufacturers in China to create custom resistance levels and stuff, which is why I think my resistance bands were elite.
Yeah, I even got some booty growth out of them as well. I pinched them off Katie when she was forcing me to do lockdown workouts at home.
They're actually good, right?
Yeah,
like,
they didn't snap. I was always scared to use resistant bands just because you see those videos online about them just snapping and hitting people in the face and that.
Yeah. No, it won't happen with these ones. And mine is still going strong. But I decided, so I actually launched that. I think it was February 2020, and then March 2020, lockdown hit in Melbourne, and it was like, we all know what happened in 2020. In the end, I made a profit. I sold all of the resistance bands, but I decided not to do another, like not to buy more product, because I needed the money for other things, being like, not having a job. So
living
what
and
can you do?
surviving.
Yeah.
So other than that, obviously you've gone to uni and learned a bit more about digital marketing and branding and stuff like that. How has that uni education versus like the YouTube education or the consultants or courses that you brought online, how does that differ, and what are the main differences between those options for maybe someone considering going to uni for marketing?
Yeah. I think it really depends. If you want to be an employee at a large company, I think uni is probably the way to go. Branding at uni or marketing, business, all of that, it's very, very, very theory based. So you kind of learn like the history and the nuance of marketing or whatever you're studying. But it's not very practical. Like everything hands-on, I've learned through YouTube or, like doing things myself, self-taught. I definitely use some of the theory in my decision making. Sorry, I'm just looking at my notes.
That's all right.
Okay. For example, recently at uni, we were talking about what makes content go viral. And so we looked at like the different parts of what can make a message go viral, but we didn't then like create content applying those things, if that makes sense. And so sometimes I think there can be a disconnect between theory and reality.
Yeah.
And you don't know until you actually do it.
When you're breaking down those videos, where you're like studying like Mr. Beast, which is like the biggest YouTube account, or is it just some boring old video as well?
We weren't breaking down videos. That's the thing. We were just looking at theories, and yes, the theories can still be applied, but the theories, some of them are like 20 years old.
Yeah.
Like I'm pretty sure one of them was from the year 2000.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like,
I don't even seem that long ago.
Oh
But
no,
it's
that's
like
like
we're
23 years
now
ago.
at 23 years. So yeah, obviously it's a long time
Yeah.
ago. So in like uni, are you talking about things like hook rates or like
No.
no? So
That's what
whole
I mean.
times,
None
hook
of that
rates.
practical stuff.
Okay, cool. And then obviously that's super important with social media, like that first 3 seconds, especially on TikTok. Even just to capture attention in
Yeah.
those first 3 seconds is massive. And pretty much that's
Yeah.
solely some people's jobs. It's just creating those hooks.
Yeah. Yeah. Literally. It's so important. And yeah, it's not referenced. I think the thing with uni is like there is no way any curriculum or coursework can keep up
Yeah.
with the digital world. Like, for example, Instagram introduces a new feature. So what is the uni going to change their entire curriculum,
Yeah.
set up new assignments, get it all approved, etc.? Like, it's actually not possible.
Yeah. And yeah, just
um,
speaking of those approvals, obviously you need to get stuff approved for a uni course, whereas these online marketing
exactly.
gurus or courses or whatever, they can just chuck in a section whenever they want. And usually it's just like a
Yeah.
15 to half an hour video of them talking about why
Yeah.
this is happening, why the changes have been made on Instagram, and how you can benefit from those changes.
Yeah. Or even like a 30-second reel.
Yeah.
You can learn about new features.
Yeah, exactly. Would you say you've learned
Yeah.
more from uni or more from Instagram Reels or YouTube?
It's so hard to say. I think it depends on what service we're talking about.
Yep.
If it's kind of like marketing consultancy, I would say probably slightly more uni, like a 60% uni, 40%, experience and self-taught. Because again, the theory, it helps guide your decision making.
Mm-hmm.
However, you obviously with marketing, like you need to have a really strong understanding of what's happening in the world, and what's happening on different platforms and all of that. So I don't know, but honestly, probably more leaning towards the self-taught.
Yeah.
And like YouTube and
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm personally YouTube university kid, so yeah, I didn't go to the traditional uni at all. So I've just learned through YouTube and courses and stuff like that. Like, I probably spent way more than what a uni course is worth, but I think from where I am now, I've been doing it for over 4 years now, so I think it's been a pretty worthwhile investment.
For sure, and that's the thing, you're actually like putting it into action.
Yeah, learning on the job. I think a lot of people massive. Do you do any like placements or anything like that in agencies with the uni, or not in your degree?
Not in my degree. It is encouraged to do internships, and I mean, if you want to get into the workforce, it's essential. They all want like minimum 2 years experience.
Yeah.
But I haven't been doing internships because I already study and work full time.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, fair enough. So obviously you've got a fair bit of experience in branding, and you've done mine as well. When I first started trying to design stuff, like Canva is nowhere what it is today. Like it's just gone to another level, especially with AI coming out recently with those magic updates on Canva and stuff like that. I've been playing around with that, and that's pretty cool. But back in the day, obviously, my branding was disgusting before you did it. And there is a lot of people that have started businesses through COVID, and maybe they're looking to get a rebrand. I know a lot of businesses have gone through that lately, but what are some of the advice you would give to brands looking to rebrand?
Sorry, let me just look at my notes.
That's all
right. Okay. I think advice to businesses that want to rebrand is to have a clear vision in mind. I personally strongly recommend working with a graphic designer, especially if it's a rebrand.
Yeah.
Because it's like you don't want to rebrand too many times. So you really want to get it right. So work with a graphic designer or digital marketer to bring your vision to life, because they'll have the experience behind them to know what questions to ask you to make that happen.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're doing it yourself, you're kind of like, maybe I'll do this. and just hope that it works out.
Yeah, I think I went through about like 3 different designs, like rebrands, before I actually invested in somebody, and I could have just saved so much time and effort and just trying to think of stuff. It's just so hard. Even when like I was working with you, like I didn't really know what I wanted, but somehow you were able to get it out of me just through asking those questions.
Exactly. The questions are so important. My other advice would be to get it all done behind the scenes and then launch it all together or as close together as possible so that there's no mismatched branding at any point.
Yeah.
So for example, like make your new website and your profile picture live at the same time. And get excited about the rebrand and get your audience excited about it. Like you can tease it on your socials and get everyone excited to see the new look so that it's not like a sudden weird jarring thing and everyone's like, why did you do that?
That's probably how I launched it.
It's not too, I mean, you've still got the slingshot and your name is the same, so it's not too different.
So you talked about mixed matched branding right there. Once you get a rebrand done, is it vital that you stick to that 110% all the time? You have to have that very strict branding guidelines, or do you like to push the boundaries on those brandings and maybe go for some left field content as well?
So I think with that, so there's your brand guidelines, like what I created for you had a brand guidelines document. And so that has, your color palette, your typography, logos, tone and voice, your mission, your vision, etc. All of that. And it's like that kind of is what makes up your brand, right? And then with your content, sorry if you can hear the alarm, with your content, I think you can push the boundaries with what you put out there as long as it is in line with your brand, your vision, your mission, and who you're serving.
Yeah.
So, for example, like, I don't know if you've seen Duolingo's TikTok.
No.
Okay. It's really, or like Ryanair on TikTok.
No.
Okay. Well, there are these Duolingo is an app that teaches languages. Pretty much.
Oh, yeah.
Gotcha now. And so...
But you're talking about like Dua Lipa or something.
No, the app that teaches languages. And it's got like the big green bird.
No, I don't know the one that you're talking about, but I know of like similar ones,
Okay, well, from these brands, and the other one, Ryanair, they're like a plane, like travel, like Qantas or something.
Okay, yep.
Airline, that is the term. They're an airline. But their target customer base are like Gen Z and I guess maybe younger millennials, but I think it's more targeted at Gen Z.
Yeah.
And so they're able to push the boundaries with what kind of content they produce. Like Duolingo, it's like they're very almost like not safe for work.
Yeah.
But it makes their content go viral because Gen Z finds that so funny and so amusing and will like share it.
It's like so that Lotus car brand on TikTok. Like that, it's just a meme page. It's just a meme page. Yeah. There's like no cars on it. It's just memes. And then they got like a link to obviously their website and their actual brand. But like their TikTok, it's just about going viral. They don't really care what they post.
Yeah, I think that is fine as long as it is in line with your brand. So for example, if you were like a luxury car brand, I don't know if Lotus is.
Yeah.
But if you're a really
extra luxury, yeah.
I'd be interested to see their sales versus, because there's one thing to have brand awareness, but there's another thing to have people wanting your car, and if you're a luxury car, why would someone buy one from memes? Like, I think, sorry, my mind's like all over the place now, but brand positioning as well comes into this. So like, where are you positioned in the consumer's mind as opposed to your competitors?
Yeah.
Like, why would someone want to buy a Lotus car versus, I don't know what, maybe like a BMW or a Mercedes? Is it kind of in that price point?
Yeah, I think so. Maybe even more luxury, like a Ferrari.
Wow. And so I guess it's kind of like, why are they going to buy one that's promoted through memes? Like, does that make people see it as cheap? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah. It's just an interesting case study. I haven't seen any numbers around it, but I just know
Yeah.
their page, and it's funny as hell.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. All right, cool. So, and then obviously the difference between obviously sticking to your brand 100% of the time. There's also been a trend where a lot of brands, say a few years back, 4 or 5 years ago, they're pretty much faceless brands, but we're seeing a massive change with TikTok, especially where brand founders have to get on camera and give the behind the scenes to build those relationships with their customers. And I know a lot of brand founders don't want to do that, but do you still see is that necessary to grow a brand at the moment, or is like, can you do it through purely branding?
I think it really depends. I think especially for smaller businesses, it can be really helpful and cost effective.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have the budget for, influencers or even just gifting influencers, you need to get content somehow. And so the cheapest way is to do it yourself. I think it is also good to build a connection with your audience. The only thing to consider is, what is your goal with the brand? Like, do you eventually want to sell it? Yeah, you need to ask yourself those questions. If it gets like too big, are you going to be able to film content yourself? Yeah, we actually had this discussion in class recently. And we were saying, like, you don't want to be tied so closely with your brand that if you sell it, your customers feel abandoned.
Yeah. It's a bit like
But
Elon Musk. Like, he's such a big figure, and like, if he wasn't the head of, say, SpaceX or Tesla, would people actually buy it? Like, I definitely wouldn't be as interested if I didn't know Elon Musk. Like, if it was just some random founder that never posted anything or whatever, I definitely wouldn't pay as much attention to those brands as what I do when, as Elon is the head.
Yeah. That's the other thing, though. I feel like Elon is like his own brand.
Yeah.
And then he has like Tesla, SpaceX, all of those things. And I think that's a really interesting way to do it. I personally really like that when a brand has like their founder. For example, there's a few pages where I follow the founder because I like seeing like the lifestyle business kind of stuff. And then I follow the business, which has more of the actual, products or services, whatever they're selling.
So you're more saying to separate those accounts rather than doing it all on one account?
If possible. I can see how there are limitations, especially if it's a small business.
Yeah.
But I think some ways to manage it are to work with influencers, obviously, to get your content. You can do paid or gifted. Use different team members in your videos if you have a service-based business. Yeah, it can be a tough balance to strike, but I think it just comes down to who your ideal customer is, and what they want and what your vision is for the business.
Yeah, I think it's hard to do it on one account because then you're just mixing and matching your content. Like, sometimes you might be just out getting coffee with your kid or something, just going on a morning walk, and you happen to be posting that to your business account. And there's just a bit of a disconnect. Like, some people are probably there just to buy the product and look at the product or whatever, do some more research. They don't really, like, especially for me, like, I don't really care what an influencer brand is doing on a day-to-day basis. Like, I just want to see the product. What are the benefits? How is it going to benefit me? Sure, some of the benefit is actually sitting there and watching that founder go through their day and whatever. For me personally, I don't really care. But there is a lot of people that just sit there and binge watch and follow influencers. And even like, if you don't consider yourself an influencer as a brand founder, you sort of are, and you sort of need to become that as well. But yeah, I would definitely have a business page set up, and then obviously your personal brand, build that personal brand alongside the business.
Exactly. And you can collab on certain videos. Like the example you used, having a coffee with your kid. Say you sell, like, I don't know, clothing for busy, active mums.
Yeah.
If you're wearing that clothing, then you can post it to your personal story and tag your brand.
Yeah.
And then, like, work it in that way. And I think that can be really good as well.
Yeah, that's a good point. What advice would you give to somebody looking for more consistency around their posting schedules and stuff like that? Like, I had a client the other day, they didn't even know what later was, and they've been in business for like 3 or 4 years.
What?
And I was like, yeah, exactly. That was my reaction. I was like, what the fuck? You don't know about later? Like, she's just been posting whenever she can. And it's all just like straight off the top of her head, like no scheduling whatsoever. And she posts fairly regularly. And I was like, hey, check this out. Like, these are my posts scheduled out for the next month. And she was mind blown.
Yeah.
So if you don't know about later or any scheduling tools, definitely go and do some Googling on that. But what about some more time-saving tips from the social media management, especially if you are a brand that's doing like a personal brand on the side as well as a business page? It can become a lot, and coming up with content creation ideas and everything like that.
Yeah. Sorry, I just want to confirm, this wasn't on the list of questions, was it? Because I can answer it off the top of my head, but I want to make
How do you balance the need for creativity and motivation when with the need for consistency and reliability in branding? So yeah, I didn't read the end of that. But,
no, you're fine. So I answered that question completely different in the notes, but the way you just worded it, things like, wait, could you please repeat the question that you worded?
Yeah. So how can brands get more consistent in their posting, whether it's like a scheduling tool or something like that?
Yeah, definitely having a marketing calendar of key dates. So for example, having, the following month set up, and you can see like Mother's Day is coming up, or like Click Frenzy's coming up. And then you can like spread your budgets accordingly. This is especially helpful for paid ads and if you work with influencers and things. And yeah, having a content calendar like later is honestly, I think it's essential. Like, even if you don't do auto posting, just to be able to see that everything's set up can take so much stress and like mental energy off of your plate. Also using AI tools, like I use ChatGPT to help me come up with ideas. So usually I'll brainstorm some things myself. And then if I hit a roadblock, I'll just type into ChatGPT, what are 50 Instagram story ideas for a product-based business that specializes in blah, blah, blah. And it'll generate a heap of stuff for you. And then you actually need to go and do it.
Action it.
Yeah.
So I find obviously scheduling posts very helpful in saving time and like obviously batching content. It's a massive time hack. But then if you're running a business as well, like even just scheduling posts can take hours and hours and hours. So investing, once you get to a certain stage, like if you find yourself running out of time in the day and you're missing posts and stuff like that, you definitely need to get a social media manager on board. And while it might seem expensive just for them sitting there and typing stuff out, like they're probably copy pasting from ChatGPT and changing a couple of words anyway.
Like I don't do that.
I do that. So
do that.
Like obviously you use ChatGPT as a tool. You don't copy it word for word because it sounds like a robot. To get like sentence structures and stuff like that down and then just rewording it, I find that really helpful. But obviously that's still time consuming as well. And I probably spend 5 to 10 hours just scheduling posts a week and just making sure I have the right thumbnail for the right post. And
I was going to say,
it's a massive headache.
Yeah, especially with video content. Like I think always prioritize video content. And for a business owner to be able to create the content and then edit the content and then schedule the content, match it up with trending audios, etc., that's like a lot of work. So if you can invest in a social media manager, I think it's definitely worthwhile.
Even a video editor, like editing takes so long and it can become very repetitive and you can sort of systemize it as well. Like once you start to get a feel for the style that you like it gets really repetitive. So investing in video editing as well. And even like get a good team in place, and then they can also mix and match certain content pieces, so you don't always have to be creating new content over and over again. Like B-roll's super important. I don't do enough of it. I don't have any B-roll saved up, but I think you put out a reel the other day, just be like, I can just make content from my B-roll, just shit I'm doing every single day, and people will gobble that up.
Yes, literally, because it just comes down to like what value you're delivering, right? And so this comes back to as well, if you don't want to show your face, you could take the B-roll approach and just do like little snippets of your life. It can literally be like, you know, getting a coffee and then, you know, what work you're doing, walking down the streets of Melbourne, like all these things. And then you just pop some text over the top. And the text could be, I mean, for my business, things like, you know, here's some hook ideas. Like a 5 or 10 second video, and that has the potential to go viral because it's giving value. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I see a lot of brands just throwing their product around in different scenes. Like they'll just throw it in some leaves, or they'll just throw it in some dirt or whatever, and then that's their video. And then it works really well because I don't know, it's just something different, and people don't expect it. I guess it's just not super high quality product photography. That is starting to stand out more and more because people have it went from like super professional product photography, and then it went to like raw content and just filming it on your iPhone. And now once you see good product photography, it's like actually capturing attention right now. I've noticed this myself when I'm scrolling through my Facebook and an ad pops up. Like if I see some influencer with their product up with next to their face, I'm just like, oh, this is fucking selling shit. But then I scroll down and I see an actual good product photography. I'm like, oh, I'm interested in that. Whereas I know UGC obviously works very well, especially in my client accounts. But for me personally, like product photography, that captures my attention, probably because I'm interested in digital marketing, branding, and everything like that.
But also that makes so much sense. One of the theories that we were recently learning about in class, and this is where the theory comes into it. There's this theory called the purple cow theory. And it's essentially like, you know, you see cows, especially us being from the country. Maybe if you don't see cows often, it's like, oh, there's a cow. But like when we see cows,
city people definitely do get like that.
But when we see
there's
cows,
a kangaroo.
When we see cows or like kangaroos or something, it's like, you know, it's a cow, it's a kangaroo, whatever. If you saw a purple cow, you'd be like, what the fuck? Like that cow is purple. It's different, you know, it stands out. And I think that comes down to what you were just talking about. Like when something is different, it catches your attention. So that's why the throwing your product in the leaves or in the dirt might work. But if that's done too many times, people aren't going to care anymore.
Yeah, it starts to get repetitive. So mixing up your content and having, I don't know, some sort of strategy or plan, or even if you just ask an outside consultant to come in and be like, what ideas do you have for my brand? Let's create some content. That's going to bring somebody's fresh eyes into your brand and probably come up with angles that you've never thought of.
Yeah, and also test different things because you really don't know what's going to work until you do it.
Yeah, everyone always says that. Just keep posting on TikTok. Something will go viral and it'll be the thing that you least expect.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. Be some stupid dance that you've been doing.
Yeah, literally.
We're speaking about branding, especially for e-commerce brands. What are some of the most underrated aspects of branding that you find that people just miss?
I really liked this question. Okay, so I'm going to answer it from like an academic point of view.
Okay, like a technical standpoint. Yeah. Cool.
Okay, so I think there's like 5 or 6 elements that make up branding, right? And I would say the ones that are the most underrated are either brand identity or brand positioning. Brand identity, because there's so much noise at the moment with like social media and everything, that if you want to make any kind of impact, you need to have a clearly defined brand persona so that it's like easily recognizable, you know? And brand positioning, because I feel like so many businesses, like I want to say, I don't know the actual statistics, but I want to say like 90% of business owners don't research their target audience, like their target market, or their competitors, especially not at the beginning. And
I
so,
find that especially with like baby brands, because I do a lot of advertising for baby brands.
yeah,
Like the mums that are buying online are not going to Kmart and Big W to go clothes shopping, for example. Like if they're online shopping, they're pretty bougie, and you could probably sell higher ticket
yeah,
items on Facebook and Instagram, because they're trying to create a lifestyle that they keep seeing on Facebook and Instagram, which
yes,
is very polished.
yeah,
So if you're like, especially in the baby niche, and if you're struggling with product margins and stuff like that, obviously shipping's gone through the roof. One of the easiest ways for you to increase your profits is to actually increase your products.
yeah,
And just because you might be positioning yourself more expensive in the market, that's probably more relatable to your target market, because they're
yes,
not shopping at Big W or Kmart, and they're
yes,
probably trying to outdo their friends that also have small children. Like if you go
yeah,
over to somebody's house, they'll be like, oh, let me show you this new couch that I brought, or this new
yeah,
rug, or this new piece of clothing, or whatever. And they just start trying to outdo each other. So
right,
I think that's a pretty cool hack, is to just increase your pricing. Obviously it depends on
right.
your target market.
But that comes down to your positioning. So you need to know like what differentiates you from your competitors and what your customer wants. And then
Yeah.
how your customer sees you in their mind compared to your competitors. It's like, luxury brands versus premium brands, users, high street brands, right? Like there is no way that it actually costs $7,000 to make a single
Yeah.
handbag. Like it's just not a thing. Um, Even if you're using, beautiful, genuine
Dinosaur
leather.
skin.
Yeah. Dinosaur skin, it might be a bit more if
Yeah.
we're but yeah, no, but the thing is, like what you were just saying, that's what your customer wants. Like they want to be
Yeah.
like, oh, look at me, I spent $7,000 on this bag. It is probably also a beautiful bag, but there's also beautiful bags for $100. So,
Yeah.
yeah, there was a case study. I can't remember the brand, but increasing their prices, like nobody was buying them. Like they were just like, oh, it's a bit, shit. But
Yeah.
then they increased their prices, and all of a sudden, everyone wanted it. And I think it's actually quite common.
Yeah. It's just like perceived quality.
Exactly, exactly. Closely linked to price.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So, yeah, there are a couple of the, I guess, overlooked aspects of branding. Do you
Yeah.
have anything else?
No, I would say those are honestly the main two. But I do also want to mention this is it. Sorry, how do I word this? Products and services. It matters for both products and services. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, if you're going to Fiverr and looking for Facebook ads, for example, and you're paying somebody $5 an hour,
Yeah.
you can expect to get the results that you should be expecting, which is
Exactly.
trash.
Exactly. And sometimes people's prices don't always match their quality, but for the most
Yeah,
part, they do.
yeah, yeah. Very cool. So earlier we were speaking about ChatGPT and like obviously the AI advances, especially with Canva as well and Canva Magic. How do you see that affecting the space over say the next 3 to 5 years?
Yeah. So I definitely see continuing to impact things heavily, especially as it becomes more accessible.
Yeah.
So I think before, sorry if you heard my tummy rumble. I think before, a lot of people didn't get to use AI just because they didn't understand it. They didn't know where to find the tools. But now it's everywhere. It's in Canva and you can use it. I'm pretty sure it's a free feature on Canva, isn't it?
I'm not sure. I just had the paid version. So,
Same. Yeah. Worthwhile investment. Brand owners, if you're watching this, Canva is a worthwhile investment. But yeah, I see AI being used more for everything from like research and analytics to campaign creation. I've even seen some AI generated campaigns, like video and photo, which is wild. And I kind of feel bad for creatives who are losing their jobs. But from a business point of view, you can save a lot of money by doing those sorts of things.
Yeah.
I see, oh, sorry. I see video animation being big, particularly with AI making it so much easier to get messages out there.
Yeah.
And after probably the 5-year mark, I see AR and VR being more like commonplace again,
Yeah.
especially as it becomes more accessible.
Yeah, it's sort of
Yeah,
become it's sort of like when crypto market was pumping, and then all those gaming cryptos were pumping, and then obviously Meta got on board. Facebook changed their name to Meta. Like the metaverse is going to be pretty big, and how that's going to affect digital marketing, especially branding, all
yeah,
that sort of thing. It's going to be very different. I imagine it to be more like, I don't know, like that Tokyo vibe, just like neon signs everywhere. If you put on a
yeah,
pair of glasses, then you're walking down the street and there's
yeah,
just neon signs everywhere. You take them off, then there's actually just blank billboards or whatever. So I think stuff like
yeah,
that is going to happen for sure.
yeah,
And then, yeah, obviously AI is just going to get better and better. It's mainly just text based at the moment, and
yeah,
it can lie to you, as I've seen some examples. So
yeah,
it's
which is
starting to
crazy.
become pretty scary at the moment. So I don't know if it's going to be banned
Yeah,
or anything, but I think with the rate it's progressing at the moment, you're dumb not to be using it, and trying to
yeah,
get ahead of the curve. Even if you can just
for sure.
increase your productivity writing captions, for example, like that's going to save you
Yeah,
hours during the week, so you can concentrate on maybe calling up your manufacturer and negotiating better rates or whatever. And that's going to improve your
exactly,
product margin for everything that you sell, and it's going to have an impact on your bottom line. So there's some of the
for
use
sure.
cases for AI that you can be using right now to improve your
Yeah,
business. It's not always just about caption writing, it's about what you can do with that extra time that you probably
for
should be
sure.
focusing on anyway, those high leverage activities.
Yeah, for sure. Um, yeah, in terms of trends for brands, I think just yeah, the increased pressure to be more transparent, have ethical supply chains, be eco-friendly, etc. And marketing techniques like gamification, so making things, having like rewards and that kind of thing, which really lends itself to the virtual space, and especially like VR and the metaverse and all of that. I think that's going to be big in more like the 5 to 10 year range.
Yeah, I think
But yeah,
brands are going to
just
start
everything's
looking
going to be
into,
digital
yeah, NFTs and stuff like that as well. Um,
if they haven't
Digital
already.
assets, yeah, if they haven't already. Most brands haven't. So getting
Yeah,
invested into those, say if you buy a product, get these exclusive NFTs or whatever, probably for more
mm,
bigger influencers. Like
yeah,
Gary Vee obviously is heavily invested in NFTs, and his project's going well from memory. It was when when the
yeah,
bull market was around anyway, so not sure how it's going now, but stuff like that is just going to become more and more commonplace. Even for
yeah,
event ticket sales and stuff like that, they're all going to be NFTs, and it's
yeah.
going to be used every day. It's like, I went to the footy a couple of weeks ago down in Melbourne, and my uncle just printed off the tickets on a piece of paper. I was like, what are you doing? Just scan it
Yeah,
on your phone.
yeah, literally, I took a couple of flights recently and I could get my like ticket on my phone. I was like, whoa, I'm living in the future. Like no printed ticket at all.
Yeah, yeah,
Wild.
it's pretty crazy how fast it's progressing, and obviously some people are trying to stop it, but I don't know if that's going to happen or
Yeah.
not. It'll probably just take over the world, Terminator soon.
Yeah, probably.
Cool. So, speaking about branding, obviously AI can help with branding, especially when you're getting started. What sort of advice do you have for somebody getting started, and maybe instead of them going down the wrong path, maybe putting them on the right path before they even get started?
Yeah. Um, Let me find my notes. Sorry.
Good thing we can clip this.
Yeah. Um, oh, okay. Advice for e-commerce brands that are just starting out, and are wanting to establish their brand image. I would say research the competitive landscape. I know that sounds really boring, but it is so important. So do a SWOT analysis. You can find examples on, Google or Canva. It's SWOT, SWOT.
What does that actually stand for? Because I've heard that term, but I have no idea what it actually means.
Yeah, so it's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And so it's really important to do it for your own business, but it's also super helpful to list 3 of your major competitors and go through each of their strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats as best as you can. Yeah. And it's from a external and internal perspective. So, what's happening in the world and how could that influence your business? And then also just what are your strengths and weaknesses internally? Yeah. So yeah, that is super helpful. It can also help you find a gap in the market, which is why I really, really recommend it. Mm-hmm. Create customer personas. Again, you can find templates on Canva or Google. And make it really defined, and then research your customer, find out what they like and what they don't like, and what platforms they use, what sort of accounts they follow, what sort of content they engage with, all of that. Just really get to know your customer. Sorry, my tummy's rumbling. Create mood boards to help communicate your vision, even if it's just for yourself and you're doing it all yourself at first.
Yep.
Pinterest is great for that, or Behance. You just want to be able to see it in front of you and refer back to it when you're making decisions, especially when designing.
Yeah. I think one of the main things I struggled with, especially when I was starting to do branding, it was just even picking the color. It's what color do I want to be stuck with for the next 10 years? But obviously it changes. So yeah, trying to get that down pat in the very beginning and make sure you have a color combination that you actually like is going to be pretty important, because you don't want to be changing colors all that regularly. And a website that I used was Coolers, I think it is, something like that. It's very similar to Coolers or something like that. And it will pretty much just give you heaps of different trending colors, designed proper actually designed color combinations and stuff like that. Whereas me, instead of just going to pretty much Canva and just clicking on a few colors that I like and seeing how it looks, they actually have contrasting colors or colors that actually go together, rather than me trying to pick them out. Yeah, I don't even know also the words to go with it.
If you're doing it yourself and you're talking about colors, sorry, it just reminded me, also research color theory, because that's super important in your branding. But I think if you really want to get it right, I think investing in a good graphic designer or digital marketer is just
not like me, a graphic designer.
Yeah, someone who does all of the things, or a graphic designer.
Yeah.
Because again, they're going to be able to ask you the right questions, and show you, say you want, blues and greens. They can show you all the different variations of blues and greens that would be good for a Facebook ads specialist, for example.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also having brand guidelines to be able to refer back to, for all decision making and content creation and giving to your different people that you have working with you.
Yeah. What are the main mistakes you see for new businesses in terms of their branding? Is it pretty much just not investing that time and effort, or investing in that knowledge, and they've just slapped something together to get to the market? Or what other mistakes do you see?
I think probably trying to do too much. So making things really busy, that's when you can usually tell that it wasn't done by a graphic designer. And it just looks a bit lower quality. And by this, I just mean making it in Canva and just having too much going on. Another mistake I see that's definitely worth mentioning is using fonts that are not for commercial use. So legally, you can't actually use just any old font. It has to be same as music, you have to use royalty free music. With fonts, some of them aren't free for commercial use, so you need to be careful of that.
Yeah. I'm always going to royalty free, but I don't know if anyone's ever been done for copying some text. I feel like it's just a
way
myth.
Too many logos now.
Yeah, I feel like it's just a myth. But obviously, if you're copying Nike's logo or something and you get to some sort of scale, then there might be a bit of a problem.
Yeah.
But definitely try to use royalty free where you can. And there's heaps and heaps of royalty free stuff now, and it's just getting like bigger and bigger by the day. The royalty free library, especially with AI coming out, is just generating music by itself now. So
but definitely something to keep in mind. Like, don't be plagiarizing anything in your business, especially in your branding, because you don't want to have to change that.
Yeah, for sure. So obviously you're a pretty busy person as well, mixing uni, and then you're also running an agency on the side, and I'm sure you have some other hobbies that you get up to, but sort of how do you balance that mix between uni, work, your personal life and stuff like that?
So definitely batching. So for example, like I have all of my uni classes on a Tuesday. And so I'll have class on a Tuesday and then I'll do my assignments that night. Yeah. And then for the rest of the days of the week, I have 2 core tasks, and it just kind of takes a bit of stress off my shoulders because I always know that everything's going to get done on its assigned day. Obviously if something's urgent, you need to respond to it, but that doesn't usually come up, I've found. I always think things are urgent, but when it actually comes down to it, it's like, if it's going to be done tomorrow, that's also fine.
Yeah, I struggle with that as well. Like when I get a Slack message like at 7 p.m. at night or whatever, I find myself having to respond to it.
Exactly.
And then I end up changing campaigns that late at night or whatever, or adding a new creative or whenever it just comes up. I'm really bad for that. But I found like time boxing is really helpful. So just batching everything that you need to do on a list and then organizing on a timesheet after that. So I'll just batch it, and then 9 a.m. I'm doing this, 10 a.m. I'm doing that, 10:30 I'm doing this. So finding that, just putting time limits on it as well helps you stay more productive during the day. And then I don't typically, but I do find when I do plan out my week, I get more done as well, or especially on the more important tasks that I might be not looking forward to as much, like going through a rebrand, for example. Like I delayed that for quite a while just because I knew it was going to be a lot of effort, but putting that on a to-do list, just expanding the timeline for that. I'm really bad for unreasonable expectations as well. Like I tried to migrate my CRM from one software to another, and I was like, I'll get that done in a couple of hours. All I need to do is download the CSV file, upload it to the new one. That's been a few weeks now and I still haven't got it right. So just setting
a couple hours.
Like if you need a rebranding done, obviously it's going to take some time. So maybe just set it down. Hey, by the end of the month, I want this finished, and set aside an hour or two each day to work on that or something like that. Obviously planning out helps out. For
sure. And I think, with the 2 core tasks, it just helps. Like within that, you can break it down, by hour or whatever. Yeah. But it helps if you don't have to do like mental gear switching, like, I'm going to do my uni assignment and then I'm going to design some emails and then I'm going to have some meetings. Like you're just going to end up exhausted. And, at the end of the day, when your brain just feels like mush, like you're going to feel like that every day, and it's not sustainable. So having these things in place is definitely essential, really.
Well, there you have it. Unfortunately, this is the end of the episode, but if you're looking for more, be sure to find more episodes on the platform you're viewing on, or head over to Instagram to find tons of valuable clips.